Hey y'all! Today I'm coming to you with my February wrap-up. I read 8 books this month, which I'm quite proud of, even though one was a children's book and one was a comic book, because I had a week of midterms and it was not fun. So I'm quite proud of having read all those books, and I read a lot of good ones this month, so let's talk about them. I'm going to start with the Blackathon books. The first book I read was The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, which is the group book for Blackathon, and I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely adored this book. It was really well written. I love the prose. I haven't really read that many poetry books in a while, but I love slam poetry, and just reading it was so fun. And I think the most powerful part of this book is how well it manages to convey emotions. I can't even talk about it. I don't actually remember all the categories in Blackathon, like all of their names and stuff, but for the one for intersectionality and a romance between a black character and another character of color, I read The Color Purple by Alice Walker. This has a female-female romance between 2 black characters, and I enjoyed the story. It's about, I'm really enjoying like stories that are told from 2 perspectives, I'm finding, and this is pretty much told in letters between one character to her sister. It starts off kind of as a diary, and it ends up being this letter thing, and I really like it. I liked seeing like how their lives evolved and end up coming together and stuff. I gave it 3 stars because I felt like this story could have packed so much more of an emotional punch than it did. I don't know, maybe I'm just dead inside. Another thing about it was that the timing was kind of weird. Like, I would read something and I'd be like, oh, okay, so like 12 years have passed, okay. But nothing would tell me 12 years has passed, except for some random detail. I was like, oh, your kids are grown up now. Oh, okay, cool. So that kind of made reading it kind of confusing. But overall, I did enjoy reading The Color Purple. One of the challenges was to read a comic book or graphic novel featuring a black main character. And like I talked about in my February TBR, I'm really not a comic book person. I really am not a graphic novel person. I've never been. And I said I was going to pick up a Black Panther or Shuri story because I felt like I'd already be kind of invested from watching the movies and stuff. And yeah, that didn't help, like, at all. I'm just literally, like, I started reading, because, this is Black Panther Adventures, and so basically it's a bunch of stories from other comics that they compile together into one bind-up, and I'm still not a comic book person. I didn't give this any rating on Goodreads at all, because I was like, this is not fair for me to rate, because I read through the first story and realized I had only been reading, like, the speech bubbles, and, yeah, I tried to go through the rest of it, like, being more conscious of the art and stuff, and that did not happen, and I was not super invested in any of the stories. So, yeah, what I found from this is I'm still not a comic book person. I just really am not. I tried, guys. I really tried. I also read The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, which was also the Book Junkie Book Club book for February, which was hosted by Rachel Marie. Also, Blackathon was hosted by Bowties and Books, Francina Simone, and the novel Lush. Everyone will be linked down below. I realize I forgot to say that at the beginning of this video. We're gonna go with it. And I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a wonderfully powerful read. I felt like it didn't hold anything back from such a difficult topic. I loved how they dealt with the Haley storyline. I loved the overall pacing of the book. However, I felt like, one, I wasn't a huge fan of the writing style, and I don't know why. I still can't figure out why I didn't like it that much, but I didn't. And then also the other thing is that I felt like the entire book, most of the book had like a full-on structure. Like, it was like, oh, here's a thing that happened, but also here's the family dynamic, here's friendships, here's relationships, and the ending kind of didn't have that overall-ness. I don't know if I'm explaining this well. Why are my hands doing this? I'm going to stop now. But I felt like the ending kind of didn't continue like the rest of the book. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's ultimately why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I read The Field Guide to the North American Teenager on the last day of February by Philippe, something like that. This book might have gotten 4 stars, except for 2 major things. One, it was really predictable. It was just your really typical YA contemporary. And also, there's a trope that might actually be a spoiler, so I'm not going to say it, but I don't even know if it's a trope, it just keeps happening. If you watch Grey's Anatomy, I'm just going to say, Richard, Adele, Ellis, Jackson, Stephanie, April. That thing keeps happening, and I am done with it. So, those 2 things bumped it down to 3. Might even bump it down lower because of the tropey thing. But overall, I really liked the book. It was really enjoyable to read. I loved all the characters. Well, I didn't love them as people. I liked how they were characterized. And I really liked the pacing. I don't think there was a single filler scene. So it was still a really enjoyable read, just predictable and iffy on a thing. A book I was planning on reading this month, but I had not planned on it being for Blackathon, but I realized it fits in for Blackathon, is Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. Oh my god. I've made videos on this, so y'all know I've freaked out about it, but it is so good. First of all, though, none of y'all told me this was in verse, okay? I put off reading this book for like a month because I was so scared it was going to be super long, and I was like, I can't read that. I was like, it's 500 pages. I'm not going to finish that. I finished it in like an hour and a half, guys. Oh my god. None of y'all told me this was in verse. So I love this book so much. And just, it is so emotional. It manages to build anticipation throughout the entire book. Again, I can't even talk about it. I just loved it so much. Okay, I definitely talked about all those books out of the order in which I read them. Whoops. But on to non-Blackathon books. I read The Little Prince this month, which my friend Edward he like collects copies of The Little Prince, okay? And I finally read it. I loved it a lot. Rating, I really don't know how to rate it. I give it 5 stars overall just because of kind of the feeling of it, but I feel like it's kind of unfair for me to rate it just because it's not written for 18-year-old me. It's written for like me aged 7. So overall I gave it 5 stars for kind of the feeling I had when I left the book. I thought it was super cool. I wish I'd read it as a kid and then read it again now to kind of see what I thought. But yeah, overall I gave it 5 stars just because of the feeling when I came out of it, but not super fair for me to rate it because I am 18 and I don't have that imagination. The last book I read this month was Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. This is probably one of the only books I've read that's really made me like properly cackle and laugh at it. It was so funny, especially the beginning like 30 pages, I was dying. But oh my god, it has also some truly iconic quotes. Like, I want the quote, hang on. Gayer than a tree full of monkeys on nitrous oxide, engraved on my tombstone. Someone make sure that happens. But oh my god. It was super funny. It was really fun. However, for me, I found that this book was really, really easy for me to put down and not keep going on. So when I picked it back up, it was also really hard to remember what was happening next. Even if I just put it down like 5 minutes ago to get like a drink of water, I would forget and I'd have to go back a couple of pages. Overall, it was a really fun read. It was just not something that kept my interest the entire time, and it was kind of forgettable. But because of, I think, all the quotes and stuff, I am going to end up giving it a 3 stars. Someone please make sure Gayer Than a Tree Full of Monkeys on Nitrous Oxide is engraved on my tombstone. Please. Those are all the books I read in February. I hope you enjoyed this video. I realize I explained pretty much what none of the books were about, but you know what? I am not going to refilm any of that. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you sometime. Goodbye.